What about Rails 2 projects?
I have no idea. Who's still on Rails 2? So yeah, hopefully we get Rails 4 before we get hotboards. So the first one that I want to talk about is a gem called Strong Parameters. And it's one that has, it's not a new idea. It's one that a few people have written gems about. And it's something that, thank God, it's in Rails 4 and it's going to be the Rails way from now on. It's about mass assignment. It's about moving it into the controller and out of your models, which is good because it doesn't belong in your models.
Sorry.
Yeah, a few people agree. So if you want to use it, you just add the gem to your gem file, and then you go into your config application file and you turn mass assignment off.
That's the first thing we do.
Yeah. Then you include this module in any of your active record or active model classes, and that allows you in your controller to have say you have a person model, you can have a method called person params, where you say, on my params hash, I require that there is a key called person, and I will permit the name and the age keys within there. You then use person params instead of params person. And Rails will throw an exception if people try and send through things that you don't want to pass through to your model. But if everything's good, it all goes through, just like mass assignment does, and you're good. So this means you don't have to have multiple Atra accesses that are, or Atra accessibles where you go, this is for admin, this is for whatever, and if you're writing break tasks, then you can just mass assign to your heart's content because you have no worries about your users possibly hacking your web forms or whatever when doing those things. So that's great. The next one is cache digests, which is really cool. I'm going to have to explain that. It's not as good as the other one. Cache digest is all about keeping track of your fragment caches. So it's fragmentation made easier, yeah, because that shit's really hard anyway. But basically what it does is it keeps track of template dependencies. So when you call a template within a template, it knows about it, which means it can expire fragment caches. If you've got nested fragment caches, then it will expire the outer ones if the inner one changes when you redeploy, which is really good because doing it manually sucks. If you've ever had to write code like this, where you put a little v1 and then on your inside partial that you render, you've got another v1, and then you have to go and change that to v2 so that when you deploy you don't have to nuke your whole cache. And eventually someone forgets how the nesting works and leaves one there, and then you sit there looking at your site after it redeploys and you go, we've got a caching bug, and that really doesn't look good, and then you just have to go and nuke everything, and then your site grinds to a halt, because if you're caching it, you've probably got a bit of traffic. It pretty much works on render calls, but if you come across one where Rails can't figure it out, you can tell it. You can tell your partials that it has a dependency by putting a comment above it, which is nice. And the last one is turbolinks, which this shit's good. Has anyone used PJAX before? Does anyone not know what PJAX is? Has everyone used GitHub before? GitHub uses PJAX. Has everyone used the new Basecamp, or at least had a play around with it? They use this. It's been extracted from the new Basecamp. PJAX basically what it does is when you click a link, instead of doing a full page reload, it'll go and fetch the bits that it wants, server-side rendered bits that it wants to just push into the page. And what they did in Basecamp was they went, that's really, really hard to maintain, so we're just going to load the whole page and replace the content of the page, but not do a full page reload. You might be thinking, that's a bit dumb, why would I want to do that? And the answer is that is that a browser takes a lot of time to reprocess your JavaScript files and your CSS files, and that can all add up. It works really, really well if your server response times are fast. If they're more than about 100 milliseconds, it's actually worse performance for the user. But it does come with a few caveats, and that's that you can't use DOM content loaded or jQuery ready anymore, because the page isn't going to reload. It's just going to have new stuff injected into it. So there's a few new JavaScript events that occur: page fetch, page load, page restore, page change. They all occur on slightly different things, and you may need to adjust your JavaScript. But most of us probably have a whole bunch of legacy JavaScript that relies on DOM ready. So some nice person went and wrote jQuery turbo links that rewrites all of that for you. So for the most part, you can just plug it in and use that, which is awesome. But sometimes you're going to come across a link within your application where you've either done something really dumb or you've done something really, really complicated and you don't have time to go and undo it. So you can just turn that off by adding a data no turbo link to any of the links where you don't want it to apply. That's about it. You should go and have a look at these things because they're coming in Rails 4. If you fire up in your Rails 4 application, you're going to get them all by default. And you can use them now. Some of them are really easy to wire in. Some of them are a really good idea. Turbo links, not so sure about yet. But the other two are definitely good.